And now for more on this conference, let me bring in our correspondent Richard Bestic. He's live with us in London. Well, Richard, it's great to have you on the show. A very high-profile fundraising initiative. What are the diplomats' priorities now, and how many pledges can we expect?
In the words of China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi, the conference will bring into sharp relief the humanitarian tragedy created by the five-year-old Syrian war. There are millions inside Syria who've been forced out of their homes, are living under siege, and in the case of a significant number, quite literally starving to death, according to the United Nations. Then there's the pressure on the neighbouring states, Turkey, Jordan and Lebanon, who've taken in millions of more refugees, and that's causing pressure in those countries, creating competition for jobs and downward pressure on wages. Jordan's King Abdullah says it's reached boiling point. So at the conference in London, it's more than simply about raising the cash, as important as that is. One suggestion is the creation of economic zones, which would have access to European markets at very low tariffs and offer work to mainly the Syrian refugees who have been left with no means of providing for their families. The most specific goal will be, hopefully, the creation of schools for 700,000 refugees of school age who've been forced out of education. They're now known as the lost generation, and a priority for the London conference, in the words of the UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon.
Well, Richard, we understand that Europe is under a lot of pressure to bring an end to the war in Syria and to stop the exodus of refugees. How does it plan to use the money to achieve that?
Well, I mean, and in addition to that, clearly that's going to focus minds. But clearly the breakdown of peace talks in Geneva, have added immensely to the huge pressures on the leaders' meeting here in London. The diplomatic failures and the continued military push by troops of Syria's President Bashar al-Assad, combined with the Russian bombing campaign, condemned by both France and the United States, the war is now taking on something of an element of permanency. It had been hoped that the Geneva talks would have been just one arm of international diplomacy to help provide the humanitarian basics of existence for the victims of the war. But for the European Union, the refugee crisis has now spilled over onto its shores, creating huge political pressures there. And in the Middle East region itself, the pressures are becoming uncontainable. Without a peaceful solution in sight, Ban Ki-moon says the war could go on for another decade, with the consequences for the international community. So there's a desperate need for money, and on this occasion it's hoped the financial pressures of the financial pledges, rather, will be followed up with actual cash on the table.
Well, certainly. Thank you for your report there, Richard. We really appreciate it.